celebrated Dr. Russo on its Facebook page, as it did other physicians with the group. But on April 20th, 2026, police and prosecutors say Dr. Russo took advantage of a patient in his office and told the man to essentially keep it a secret. Dr. Russo was forced to trade his white coat for a jail jumpsuit after police said he raped the man during a doctor's appointment. Dr. Russo was also charged with sexual battery. On August 4th, officers with the Union Township Police Department placed Russo under arrest and took him to the Claremont County Jail. Russo was booked on the rape and sexual battery charges. The prominent doctor was treated like any other inmate, cuffed and made to take off his shoes and searched. The whole 9 yards.
This has to be between you and me. 7 words spoken in a medical examination room in Claremont County, Ohio. Not a clinical instruction. Not a treatment protocol. A directive of silence from a man who took an oath to do no harm. On April 20th, 2026, Dr. Michael Russo, a board-certified urologist with over 30 years of practice, allegedly transformed a routine appointment into a crime scene.
Dr. Michael Russo has been practicing medicine for more than 30 years. His specialty, urology, so it wouldn't be unusual for him to be around men who may be undressed from the waist down. Men who placed their trust in him. Men who went to him for help. And prosecutors say one man, a patient, was developmentally disabled. It would appear that the vast majority of Dr. Russo's patients were men. This case takes us to Claremont County, Ohio, east of Cincinnati. That's where Dr. Michael Russo was a celebrated physician with the Urology Group, a large practice that provides a number of services for people suffering from ailments in the kidneys, bladder, or urinary tract. The doctors also provide treatment for sexual health. The Urology Group celebrated Dr. Russo on its Facebook page, as it did other physicians with the group. But on April 20th, 2026, police and prosecutors say
What followed
Dr.
was
Russo
not immediate accountability, but a 90-day vacuum of inaction during which the doctor continued seeing patients, his white coat still hanging untouched in the office, his medical license fully active. Imagine a locked filing cabinet in an empty hallway. On the outside, a polished brass plate reads, "Patient Trust." Someone slides a document through the slot on April 20th, and for 3 months, no one turns the key. The cabinet just sits there, stuffed with a confession nobody retrieves. That is this case. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Trial Theory, Unsealed, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. The criminal complaint filed in the Union Township Police Department lays out a sequence of events in clinical language that somehow makes the allegations more disturbing, not less. The victim was a client of the Brown County Board of Developmental Disabilities. A man substantially impaired because of a diagnosed mental condition. He communicated what happened to investigators the only way he could, by drawing pictures. The complaint states that Dr. Russo embraced
occurred on
him.
April 20th with the developmentally disabled man in Russo's office. A complaint states, the victim alleged that during his appointment, Russo asked the victim to perform oral sex on him, exposed his private part, and began masturbating. The Ohio Medical Board was notified regarding this complaint and also opened an investigation. The complaint says an agency that provides services to that developmentally disabled man reported this alleged incident to police. The man was a client of that agency. The complaint states, on July 30th, 2026, Ohio Medical Board investigator Joshua Dull met with Russo and completed an interview. During the interview, Russo admitted to engaging in a, quote, embrace and a kiss with the victim that caused Russo to become sexually aroused. Russo told Dull that his private part was exposed to the victim and that the victim performed oral sex on him. After a period of time, the oral sex ended, and Russo admitted to Dull that he told the victim that this has to be between you and me. So this interview took place with an investigator from the medical board at the end of July. The complaint continued. Russo told Dull that he had a, quote, lack of judgment when describing the incident.
Kissed him, exposed himself, and initiated sexual contact. When it was over, the doctor allegedly said those 7 words. This has to be between you and me. A phrase the prosecutor would later describe as containing its own level of coercion.
To the point where this, in meeting with the investigator and detective here, the individual drew pictures to try to help describe what went on in this particular case. So obviously we're dealing with a substantial developmental delay for this individual. As the time progressed after the alleged incident, the alleged victim disclosed allegations to the Brown County Board of Developmental Disabilities, an agent therein of exactly what this individual says happened. Says that during a meeting with the defendant embraced and kissed the victim, that at some point the defendant exposed himself and asked the victim to perform oral sex upon the defendant. The victim did in fact do that, and thereafter at the end the defendant said to the victim, "This has to be between you and me." That is in and of itself some level
What
of
transforms
coercion.
this case from a standard criminal complaint into something requiring forensic scrutiny is the timeline. The incident allegedly occurred on April 20th. The agency responsible for the victim's care reported it to police on April 24th. 4 days, then silence. Not procedural silence. Not investigative silence conducted behind closed doors. 90 days of nothing. 90 days during which Dr. Russo continued practicing medicine. His photograph remained on the urology group's website. Promotional videos of his surgical presentations stayed live on their YouTube channel. Their Facebook page still celebrated him as a great doctor. If an allegation of this magnitude existed anywhere in the system, all of that material would have been purged within hours. The fact that it remained online until August tells you something. His antenna was not up.
On that. There are some curious things in this complaint that really make you go, what? Like, what? I mean, because the timeline here is laid out pretty starkly. I mean, April 20th, this patient has the appointment with Dr. Russo. That's the allegation. And
Right.
he has the appointment, and then this sexual assault, alleged sexual battery, rape occurs in the office. It's pretty graphic, the details that are laid out. And April 24th, it's reported to police by the Brown County, Board of,
Developmental disabilities.
the agency that helps the people who have mental disabilities. And then
Right.
there appears to be some big lag. And we're like, what was going on there? Was there investigation going on by the Union Township Police Department? And then we fast forward to July 30th, and the medical board investigator goes and interviews the doctor. And that person says he makes a full admission with corroborating details. So why on earth is there some lag? Because if you're a police officer and you get that complaint that comes in from an agency, wouldn't you immediately start investigating and maybe go interview the victim and the accuser and go
You would like to
interview
think
the
so, yeah.
doctor?
If I did the math, April to May, May to June, June to July, almost a 90-day delay. And what I find interesting, I think we can assume that they did not even attempt to contact Dr. Rousseau, they being the police department. Had they done that, I doubt he would have gone unrepresented, and then when the medical board interviewed him, given a full statement. In other words, had they gone and tried to contact him April 25th, 26th, whatever, this might have been taken care of 90 days ago in terms of filing charges and getting this admission. So this is not just obviously the incident report, but there is a gap in time that it strikes me as almost unreasonable given the nature of the allegations. I'd like to know what the detectives were doing between April 24th and I think it was July 30th when the medical board investigators met with the doctor. That's a huge window of time in there that something should have been going on.
Right, because it seems like the doctor's antenna was not up at all. So,
Not at all.
right. And he's still practicing. I mean, as of a couple of
Right.
days ago, his photo was still on the urology group's website. Videos of him were still up on their YouTube channel. pictures of him on Facebook lauding him as such a great doctor. So if they had
Right.
any inkling that there was an allegation, all that stuff would have been taken down weeks ago.
This
And I
has to be between you and me. The medical board investigator finally interviewed Dr. Russo on July 30th. During that conversation, the doctor admitted to the embrace, admitted to the kiss, admitted he became sexually aroused, admitted that oral sex occurred. He characterized his actions as a lack of judgment. A phrase so clinically passive it nearly erases agency. A phrase that implies a momentary lapse rather than a calculated exploitation of a developmentally disabled patient who had to draw pictures to
So
explain
this
what
interview
happened to
took
him.
place with an investigator from the medical board at the end of July. The complaint continued. Russo told Dahl that he had a, quote, lack of judgment when describing the incident. On August 3rd, 2026, the victim responded for an additional interview in which the man disclosed that Russo engaged in a hug, followed by a kiss. The victim stated that Russo then asked the man to perform oral sex. The victim alleged Russo then exposed his private part and began masturbating before engaging in oral sex with the victim. The victim was and is substantially impaired because of a diagnosed mental condition. These additional interviews led police to pick up Dr. Russo and take him to jail. He appeared in court the next morning, where his attorney spoke on his behalf.
My client's 63 years old. He's lived in Cincinnati since 1990. He has family here. He's cooperated when he was detained. He engaged counsel. He's got no prior convictions. There's no indication that he will not appear before the court.
Dr. Russo is a man of means. He lives in a very nice neighborhood. The prosecutor laid out the allegations and
On
why.
August 4th, Union Township Police arrested Dr. Russo. He traded his white coat for a jail jumpsuit. He was booked, cuffed, photographed with glasses and without, treated like any other inmate. The celebrated surgeon was now inmate Russo. And from a jail phone, he called his wife.
The prosecutor said he was also concerned about Dr. Russo's well-being after listening to one of his jail calls.
And at some point was arrested, has made a jail call to his wife indicating concerns over his own well-being. The wife said to him on this jail call, "Don't hurt yourself." The defendant made comments that were consistent with the notion that he had thought about it, and for a number of reasons, we think this gentleman needs a significantly high bond.
The judge said he believed Dr. Russo could be a flight risk. He also said that the allegations were very serious and acknowledged the concern that Russo might be a danger to himself. Judge Garber set a $1 million bond for
The
Dr.
prosecutor
Russo.
played portions of that call in court. Dr. Russo expressed concerns about his own well-being. His wife's voice came through the recorded line saying 4 words. "Don't hurt yourself." The defendant made comments consistent with having already contemplated self-harm. The prosecution used this as grounds to request a $2 million bond. But here is where the glass turns. The judge acknowledged the seriousness of the allegations, cited flight risk concerns, and set bond at $1 million with requirements to surrender his passport and wear a GPS monitor. Yet the question that hangs in the air of that Claremont County courtroom is not about the bond amount. It is this: what happens when the institution designed to police its own waits 3 months to turn the key, and the only thing that finally triggers action is a confession given to a medical board investigator who was never supposed to be the first line of accountability? This has to be between you and me. Dr. Russo posted
Garber
bail.
set a $1 million bond for Dr. Russo, ordered him to surrender his passport and wear a GPS monitor. His lawyer also said his client had left the urology group, quit his job. Russo posted bail, and the next day a grand jury indicted him on felony charges of rape, sexual battery, and gross sexual imposition. The Claremont County prosecutor said in a statement, "The Claremont County Prosecutor's Office, along with the Union Township Police Department, will not stand for a doctor violating the most sacred trust of his victim. This case is even more egregious, as the defendant knowingly took advantage of someone that could not resist his advances." It's a stunning fall from grace for a doctor who was celebrated by his practice, for his work as a surgeon, and for his
He resigned from the urology group. A grand jury indicted him on felony charges of rape, sexual battery, and gross sexual imposition. The prosecutor released a statement declaring the office would not stand for a doctor violating the most sacred trust of his patient. calling the case even more egregious because the defendant knowingly took advantage of someone who could not resist his advances. The defense attorney pointed out his client had no prior convictions, deep community roots, and had cooperated. He called the 90-day gap unreasonable. But he also acknowledged the facts in the complaint are bad facts. An admission is an admission.
Right, and it admitted what happened. So it should not. I wouldn't think that would be an issue, not on these facts in this case.
So, Jay, this case comes across your desk. What do you do with it?
We talk to the doctor. We find out what's going on. If we accept, again, just based on the allegations that everything here is accurate, it becomes an issue of mitigation, I think. And so I would talk to the doctor about what he may or may not be willing to do to mitigate some of this. In other cases I've had that were sex offenses, I've been able to have some success having the client evaluated by an appropriate therapist and begin treatment and counseling and therapy that way. That can oftentimes be very mitigating. Also finding out the best possible from the doctor what was motivating, what was happening this day. Was there some type of trigger that, as you pointed out before, he's 63 years old. This is not his first day doing this job. Why that day? So is there something mentally or psychologically that he can get addressed or get treatment for that eliminates this or minimizes the risk of this happening again? And then
Now the case awaits a plea hearing. The prosecutor has asked anyone with additional information to contact Union Township Police.
Thank you.
I contacted Michael Russo's attorney, John O'Shea. He declined my request for comment and to come on the podcast. A court date for Dr. Russo to enter a plea to the charges has not yet been scheduled. The prosecutor is asking anyone who has been a victim of Dr. Russo to call the Union Township Police Department in Claremont County, Ohio.
The question for you is this. Go find the publicly available criminal complaint in the Claremont County court records and read the timeline for yourself. Then ask what exactly was happening in that 3-month window between April 24th and July 30th. Was it an investigation or an institutional pause button?
When you get a complaint like this, it's not a one-off thing where it was somebody who met somebody in a park. This guy works with people, like you said, who are naked from the waist down predominantly. So I'm concerned about that. I know at least some police departments have guidelines that when a complaint comes in, they have so many days to get the investigation concluded. Cincinnati, I think it's 28 days. Here we have 90 days, and there's no indication that any investigation was done other than taking the initial report. Obviously, this is not all the information out there, but I would be interested to see in the incident report or the narrative what was happening after April 24th before July 30th.
Yeah, it's nonsensical. And at the time of this recording,
Right.
His medical license is still active.
Yeah, I mean, he's still engaging with patients for 3 months, over 3 months, from the time the initial report comes in until the medical board interviews him on July 30th. So I can't explain that. That would be a good question for somebody at the Union Township Investigative Unit.
Is that going to hurt the case? I mean, they still have an admission, but it just seems very curious and like not a great thing for this investigation. You do have, according to the police, an admission to the medical board investigator. But again, you have 3 months of nothing taking place, or nearly 3 months of nothing taking place.
I think ultimately...
Leave your findings in the comments. Subscribe to Trial Theory Unsealed. Share this video with someone who needs to see what happens when systems designed to protect the vulnerable fall silent for 90 days, and turn on notifications. We will be tracking this case from indictment to verdict.